What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday to everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It is time now for the Tuesday edition of the weather update for Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where I do the daily weather update for the United States. We also talk about some weather records, and from time to time we talk about international stuff as well, such as extreme weather events. Today we're going to talk about the departing storm system in the Northeast. Then we're going to talk about everything else in between, including the threat of another wintry system in the mid-Atlantic, and, yes, maybe another atmospheric river event for California, and, of course, the long-range forecast. If you enjoy this type of content, hit that subscribe button down below. If you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, and, of course, share this with anyone you know. Starting off with the satellite picture. As expected, the storm system that hit the Northeast is exiting the coast, but it didn't. It's leaving a mark, let's put it that way. The models were just all over the place. I think the models deserve to get an F for this storm system. They just did a horrible job. They were too far to the northwest, then they shifted too far to the southeast, and some of the northwest cutoff areas where the models really chopped off the snowfall, and meteorologists and National Weather Service did as well. Well, they ended up getting snow. It's a whole mess. We'll get into the whole thing, but you can see here, relatively quiet across the country. That southern jet, which was helping to aid that storm system, look at this. You can see there are still a train track of clouds from that over Florida, and that's something we'll have to watch, because the south could get rather unsettled as we head into the weekend. Matter of fact, Florida, it could be a downright washout for you this weekend. The rest of the country, pretty quiet. There's another weak impulse that's moving across the Great Lakes and a disturbance up across the northern plains. Not terribly concerned about them. They will bring some snow showers and maybe even some minor accumulations up to the northern plains. Talking about the west coast now, not much going on for you, but we will take a look at your atmospheric river event later in this video. Updated snowfall reports. This was as of 1:30 p.m. We're just going to randomly go through a few here. Farmington, Connecticut. Seems like they may have been a jackpot. 15.5 inches. Sussex County, New Jersey had 15 inches of snow. Then you come down to Dudley, Massachusetts. 8.8 inches of snow. Chester, New York. 13 inches of snow. Foster, Rhode Island, 10 inches of snow, and some of these totals, especially Foster, Rhode Island, that may actually be higher at this point, because 1:30, you are still snowing a little bit. Let's take a look at another view of this. You can see here on this map here, there were no 18-inch areas on this map, but there were several locations from about Hazleton, Pennsylvania, on up through to even Hartford, Connecticut. Again, remember those models? They shifted south yesterday. Well, it turns out, surprise, they ended up getting heavy snow after all, with several areas that got 12 plus inches. I know Tannersville, Pennsylvania had about 14.5 inches of snow. And here in Northeast Philadelphia, where I live, we had about 2 to 2.5 inches of snow. There was one random report in Philadelphia County that was over 4 inches. But I don't know. Maybe it happened. Maybe it didn't. I only had about 2 to 2.5 inches here. And quite frankly, looking outside, the majority of it is already gone because it is 40 degrees here. And we had about 0.8 of an inch of liquid from this storm. All right, taking a look now. Here's another look at the map from Pennsylvania. You can see these 14.5 inch amounts near the Poconos. You can see here, there really was still, despite those areas getting heavy snowfall, there really was a sharp cutoff. Taking a look at the national radar picture, storm systems exiting, snow showers across the Great Lakes. That's going to continue, and that'll probably make its way into eastern portions of New York along the I-87 corridor, the Northway, and the New York State Thruway. You might have to be mindful of that tonight. Could cause a couple slick spots. You can see here there's a weak disturbance in the Dakotas, and there's also this system in Montana at this time, which is responsible for there being winter weather advisories and even winter storm watches to the south. So that winter storm watches, they're for a different system. I'll show you that in just a moment. Taking a look at the weather service here for the Weather Prediction Center. Yes, take a look on the West Coast. Days 1 through 7. A lot of precipitation starting to be introduced again. Another big system's coming with heavy winds, rains, flooding rainfall. There could be mudslides once again, and heavy mountain snows. And look in the southeast. Remember how I was talking about it could be a washout this weekend in portions of Florida? It's starting to show up now. pretty wide swath area of an inch rainfall amounts with locally 2+ inches of rainfall. Moving on now, nothing going on in the excessive rainfall department. You can see here as we go into day 2, there's a marginal risk in portions of northern California and southwest Oregon. Then as we go into day 3, really nothing big to talk about. And look at this. No severe weather over the next 3 days. Isn't that nice to see for a change? All right, let's get into the models. Here's the storm system that's exiting off the northeast coast. Here comes those snow showers I was talking about for portions of New York State tonight. Be mindful of that. Some of them could be isolated, drop visibility quickly in isolated locations. Then we take a look here at this storm system that is up here in the northern plains, and we'll have to watch that. That is going to bring a swath of snow across the Great Lakes into the northeast. It could provide a couple inches of snow, and look at this. It does redevelop on the NAM across portions of New England, so Maine, and maybe even portions of the coast for New Hampshire and Massachusetts. You could see 2 to 4 inches of snow, maybe locally 5 inches of snow from this on Thursday night. Then all eyes turn to this next piece of energy, which is really starting to catch my attention. It's right up here in the northern plains. We'll have to watch it as it progresses east and southeast Friday into first thing Saturday morning. Look at this. It comes to the southeast, and it does gather some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the NAM, it's not showing it all that strong, but there's other models, which I'm going to show you, that does have this piece of energy being a little bit stronger. And look what's at play here. There's a system down the Gulf. Now, these two systems, they're not going to merge together. They're not going to phase and come up the coast. This system is going to exit phase right, stage right, because they're just not able to phase. It doesn't negative tilt. The trough doesn't set up correctly. But this system down the south is going to add some moisture into the northern system. And this is also the system down south that is going to be responsible for the stormy weather across the Gulf Coast this weekend. Let's go over to the GFS now. The first system, today's exiting stage right. Here comes that other little system that's going to bring some snow to New England, 2 to 4, locally 5 inches of snowfall as you head into Thursday evening and first thing Friday morning. Then it does get really windy and cold behind that. Here comes the next system, and you can see here, as it goes east, some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico does try to make its way up into this system. And look at this. You can see maybe there'll be some overrunning type precipitation that occurs from warm air advection, because you can see here the thickness lines. They're fairly close together. So that does support there being potentially some overrunning type snow with the system. Now, it's not a big system. It's not a large system. It's a fast mover, but it's got enough energy that it could, let me zoom this in for you, it could produce a period of moderate snowfall, light to moderate snowfall, Friday night across portions of Ohio, and then into Pennsylvania, Mid-Atlantic region. You can see here, Philadelphia, Baltimore, D.C., unfortunately, it's looking like a rain event for you as of right now, but as you know with these models, we just went with the models shifting all over the place from the last storm. It could shift south, or this could shift even further north, and then Philly would be talking about rain. But right now, it's something we're watching. It would probably be a lighter event. The maximum potential for this is not really all that high. The maximum end, maybe someone would get a 6-inch amount somewhere if this was to trend any bigger. But right now, a 1 to 3 type event is on the table. And you can see here, as we head into Saturday, it exits. It does try to turn up a little bit, provides a little bit of snow showers for New England, but nothing terribly concerning. Now let's take a look at the longer range. We'll come back to that system in 1 second, because there's another model I want to show you that I find to be rather interesting. Now taking a look at the West Coast, and we're going to switch this to the West Coast view, and you can see here, look what happens as we head into the weekend. Starting on Friday evening, Oregon, California coastal areas, here comes the rainfall. And it's not just one system. That one exits, here comes another system. You get the idea here. As we head into next week, it's going to last for day after day after day, starting really on Saturday, right on through the middle of next week. How much rainfall are we talking? Let's take a look at the GFS. You can see here, Northern California. Yeah, that's isolated 10-inch amounts. Not as bad for Southern California at this point, but don't be surprised if these amounts go up because that's just the way it is on the West Coast with these storm systems in the Pacific. Modeling data is not great, and as we get closer, we often see changes. But don't be fooled. These 2 to 4 inch amounts in the south, that's enough to cause problems, and these amounts up in Northern California, well, that could cause some really big problems down the line. All right, let's move back to the national view. Let's take a look at a little bit of the longer range, and I want to pull up the latest GEFS. And take a look at this. The GEFS is very wet for California. Let's take a look at the temperature anomaly for the next 7 to 14 days, we'll say. And look at this. It does start to warm up as we head into next week. Let's backtrack this a little bit. It's still going to be relatively cold to slightly below average right on through to about the weekend. But after that, as we head into early next week, it starts to change and things warm up. Look at the eastern half of the country. Yes, things are going to get warm again. And at times, for some places, such as the central region, above average temperatures can be expected. And as we get to the end of the month, I think that is really going to expand. I really think the opportunities for snow, while there may still be one that pops up, it's not as great as the period we are in right now. All right, real quickly, there's one other model I want to show you. This is for that late week storm system. Now, this is the German model. It's not always a realistic model. It's not always accurate, but I just wanted to show this to you. Look what it's showing on Friday. Yes, it is showing higher 6-7 inch amounts. So we should keep an eye on this storm system because it could amp up and get stronger as we get closer. We've seen little systems like this do that before. If it doesn't do it, fine. But it's just something to keep in the back of your mind that Friday night could be a time frame where anywhere from the Ohio Valley through to the Mid-Atlantic region could be another potential for snow. Right now, I'm leaning towards a 1 to 3 inch event, if anything. But hey, we'll see what happens with the models over the next several days. All right, taking a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Look at the central region of the United States. It's just going to be well above average, slightly below average in Florida, but that's because you're going to be dealing with that southern jet, which is going to remain active for you. And yeah, that's going to cause quite a bit of precipitation. Like I said, this weekend's looking like a washout for much of Florida. We'll probably get more into that later in the week. Taking a look now at the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, well above average on the West Coast. You just saw the modeling there. The modeling is showing that it is going to be rather wet and flooding concerns, the whole kit and caboodle. It's going to happen again. Below average, though, across portions of Texas. Not certain I agree with this for Florida. We'll have to see how that pans out. Slightly below average in the plains, slightly above average in the Northeast. 8 to 14 day, look at this. Above average above average temperatures for much of the plains. Yeah, it's not going to feel all that much like winter, near normal along the East Coast, and slightly below average in the West Coast. Now taking a look at precipitation, slightly above average in the Northeast, slightly above average in the West, and slightly below average in Texas and the South Central region, near normal in between, and near normal for the Southeast U.S., the extreme Southeast U.S. Alrighty, guys, that does it for today's weather update. We'll have another weather update again, maybe tomorrow. We might give the updates a day off tomorrow. It just depends. We'll have to see what the modeling shows for these next threats, especially the one on the West Coast, the one in the Mid-Atlantic, and the potential rainfall for the South this weekend. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button down below, and you know the deal. Share this with anyone you know who enjoys weather or just needs the latest information and wants to be informed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.